Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Men, Women, and Happiness. And today we're going to talk about sex, or we're going to talk about talking about sex, actually. What we want to really discover today is how difficult people find it to explore with their partner, or the people that they're intimate with, what they need, what they want, what they're curious about, and the reasons that couples end up in therapy often is that intimacy is such an incredibly important human need. And what we very often find is that relationships are often broken because of a lack of words, really. And so what Leanne and I are going to discover today is, why is that, and what can we do about it? And so without further ado, my co-host Leanne Kanzler is right here with me. I don't know why we don't have our name tags on the thing. I think I might have stuffed something up. Anyway, people know who we are. I'm Scott McLaughlin. She's Leanne.
And I'm Leanne Kanzler.
And we're going to talk about sex.
Excellent.
So, Leanne.
Let's do it. Hi, Scott.
I'm so afraid to talk about this topic, so how about you start?
Yeah. Okay. You know what? I have to say that for majority of my life, I was also too scared to talk about this topic. And it's only that I've done quite a few professional development kind of workshops with sex therapists and hundreds of other psychologists and therapists, and gotten used to it. And I still remember the first time I actually had a couple client, and I very timidly said something like, "How's your sex life?" Thinking, oh, fuck, I really have to ask this question. I don't want to ask it, but I have to ask it. And then we started talking about it. And so the more, now it's just like, yeah, okay, so how's sex? Do you have sex? Well, it's like nothing. But I see in 90% of people, when I ask something along those lines, they kind of cringe and they look at each other, and then someone will timidly say, "What sex life?" And so many people do not talk about it, or if they do, it's an argument. And I think this is why it's so important that we talk about it as often as we can. And often when people do talk about sex, it's in that kind of frivolous way, or bantery way, or innuendo way, but it's not really deep and meaningful way.
Yeah, and I think so here's the interesting thing, folks, and this is the thing that puzzles me the most, right? And God, I hope I haven't said this in a previous episode, but I remember being 33 or thereabouts and walking into a bookstore, because they used to exist, and saying, "What do you mean multi-orgasmic man?" So I immediately grabbed this book and like spent no time contemplating and just went, "Dude, give me the book," right? And that was about men and how our anatomy works, and how both prostate and perineum and those areas of our body work. And I was like, boom, what about this? A whole new world. And the kind of orgasm I was having from that learning was a very different experience. Now, how the fuck would I know that? Right? And so the truth is, and I think 99% of blokes still don't know that, by the way. But so my point is, the reason we want to talk about sex is that we don't even know our own selves.
Absolutely.
Right?
I went to a workshop with a sex therapist, not as a professional, but as an individual woman. Her name's Jacqueline Helly. I highly recommend. She's in Sydney. And she was telling us ladies all about these different parts of the female anatomy. And I was like, what is that? What does that do? I've never heard of this bit. It was really very fascinating.
And I think that's the point. Like, remember this, that, certainly in our generation, and I don't think it's really shifted too much, sadly, but, our parents don't talk to us about sex. And then you have to consider, what do our parents know about sex, right? And so therefore, there's this whole continuum of learning that's possible in this realm.
Mm.
But if you ain't talking, if you ain't exploring, if you're not open-minded, if you're not, you may never discover these things about you, let alone your partner, right?
That's
And
right.
so I think for men it's really interesting, right? Because we find physical intimacy is so emotionally important. Why? Because we find it really difficult to speak. Yeah, we find it really difficult
Mm-hmm.
to express ourselves. So physicality is really important. And even if that's you coming up and tapping me on the bum when I'm in the kitchen or whatever it is, that is for us really important because we don't know how to speak about how we feel, right? Um, Having said that, many men don't know their bodies at all, and what pleasure is and where pleasure could be and what's possible because we definitely don't speak to each other about it,
Yeah.
right? And
And,
and
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 women
God
can
bless
be the
women if
same.
you do. It was all. I'm hoping women speak more to each other about it than we do because we're fucking hopeless. But like, we don't speak to each other about this at all. When men speak to each other about sex, if at all, we kind of dress ourselves up like we're porn stars or something, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And, oh, this is fucking great, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. Um, what was good, what was bad, what was missing, what really happened. Well, the truth is we don't talk the truth.
Yeah.
So because we don't talk the truth, we don't learn. And so
And for
the only
women, I think
person we can do
sometimes it
that
can
with.
be the opposite. And actually, sorry to interrupt, where
Yeah,
they
no, no,
talk
no, you do.
about what's not working. Oh, this doesn't work, and it's not long enough, and blah blah blah. But they actually often don't talk about the good things either, or how to make it better. And because we don't actually talk about how to make it better, because men talk it up and women talk it down. This is very general, by the way, folks. We know that often it is
No, we
also
are being generous. That's true.
the opposite as well. So it can be the
Yep.
complete opposite. We are aware of that. But how often do you have the how to? How do I get my partner to A, B, or C? How do I express this? Because there's so much shame around it. Like, oh, I want something, but I don't know how to say that, or I don't want to hurt my partner, or this is embarrassing, or oh, I don't even, there's just so much around it. And I think, Scott and I were chatting about this before the show, that both of us have experienced all of this shame and embarrassment and not wanting to hurt someone. But what you find that when you do actually speak up, if you do it in a respectful way, it can actually be a game changer, can't it?
Yeah, not just for experience, but also, so, it just struck me that there's something really important that we need to talk about here, which is maturity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maturity about knowing that you don't know what you don't know,
Yeah.
right? And that if someone is actually asking you to do something different or wanting a different experience or wanting something different, I know for men, we will often go to, oh God, I feel like I failed, right?
Mm.
Because we're supposed to be, I don't know what we think, we're supposed to be like, tarot card readers or something, but but we think we know what women want, and I think that's very porn informed, by the way.
Which
Um,
is wrong. Yeah.
yeah, but I think men think they know what women want, and it's not true. So the minute a woman speaks up out of her shame, which is a very important point, like it's very difficult for her to come out of her shame and speak of what she wants. And the dude's like, whoa, shit, I thought I knew how this worked, right? What a terrible combination of, you know, an
Mm.
assembly of an assembly of shit that's like going to go nowhere where both people feel bad, right?
Exactly.
Um, and I think this is God. Leanne and I were joking last time after we did the last episode that we could probably do another episode on this, and I'm like, dude, we could do like 12. Because
Yeah.
it's intimacy is so important, and it is important for women. I don't know when it becomes a chore. I suspect when it becomes the same, and when the exploration stops.
Yes. And communication is not just about saying the words, it's about being able to hear the words as well. So, on your point about shame and being able to speak up, it's also about knowing that your partner is going to be able to listen to what you're saying, is going to be able to hear what you're saying, and not put their walls up and not drop into their own I'm bad at sex story, and all of that as well. So listening is a big part of the communication. It's a big part of being able to safely express. And safety in expression is absolutely imperative when it comes to talking about sex, because if you are knocked down, if you are shamed, if you are guilted, or if you are told that you're wrong or anything like that, or if the other person goes into their little inner child, I'm a bad person, I can't fuck properly or something, then you're never going to want to speak again, because it's going to be a bad conversation. And that can be like a game changer in terms of ending good sex between a couple.
And I'm going to go out on a limb here and declare a position, right? I think that men are the door bitches of sexual pleasure.
Door bitches.
Yeah, because like I interviewed 100 men last year, blah blah blah, and I think it was 94 out of 100 or something like that. Admitted that they judged women who were more sexually expressive.
God, I just want to put my hands over my face and go, please, no.
Okay,
this is such a sad
but
state.
men need to own this. Firstly, we need to understand it, and then we need to own it, right? So if we understand that we come at the world, and mostly, I reckon from my dad, to be honest, like if some chick was wearing not very much, my dad would absolutely comment in the negative about that person, right?
Yeah.
So I was raised that, that person must be promiscuous, they must be non-trustworthy, they must be all those things, right? Men, do not underestimate how much this shit has got into your veins, right? Because when you're in a relationship, your job is to encourage your woman to openly express and flourish in ways that she hasn't been able to do because of shame. And if you bring judgment to a shame party, it's fucking all over, right?
Yeah.
And men, I do believe that we are the door bitches of pleasure here, because we actually stop women from feeling safe, actually, to express themselves and to be themselves and to say, I want this and I want that, because we're fucking judgy. Yeah. And
sad state of affairs, really.
Well, it is. It's intergenerational, though, right? So, in actual fact, if you ask a woman in 1910 or 1920 how things are going for her, she's probably going a bit worse, right? So I don't think we're regressing. I just think that this is just an age-old problem.
Yes, and this is why it's important to talk about sex. And if a woman is, or if a man, if a person in a relationship is feeling judged or shamed, then it is important to be able to say, why are you judging me? What's going on for you? This is your judgment. This is the other person's issue. If you're judging someone, it's your issue. And it is important to then take a step back and go, oh, why am I judging my partner because they want to do this, and that? Like, wouldn't it be fun if I allowed them to express themselves, participated, and if I don't like it, can say, yeah, I'm sorry, that's not for me, without the judgment.
Well, let the record show that I have done this in my life many times, where I have found somebody, let's say, more overtly expressive, and I felt in danger. I felt that person, if they were that horny, that that they would hurt me. And the reason that I asked 100 men that question is because I wondered whether I was just fucked up. Right? And it turns out that, yeah, maybe I am, but it turns out that 94% of other men are also equally fucked up around this problem, right? And I've absolutely done it when, I found somebody who was overtly expressive or whatever. I felt like I couldn't trust them. I felt that meant that they were just going to jump on the next dick they could see. And it was right.
Interesting.
And I'm not saying that's right. I'm just saying that, and I want to speak to the men here. If we don't own that belief exists, then we won't know how we need to adjust to change the narrative and the experience for the women we're with, right? We have to do it. We have to own that shit because we do it all the time, right? All the time. And the simple question I asked those men, by the way, was, in your formative years when you were thinking about a serious relationship, did you think there was the kind of woman you settled down with and the kind of woman you had fun with? And did you think there were two distinctly different types of women? And 94 out of 100 guys went fucking oath.
Yeah.
And so we're bringing judgment to a shame party. That's going to work out. And I do see men as the door bitches of pleasure here, right? Because I think, women, if you're coming from a place of shame, there's an allowance. Men need to allow you to come out of that. Yeah. They need to encourage you to come out of that. I've been with women that had so much shame that they didn't want to orgasm in front of me. Right. And it took patience and care and kindness and love to allow that to happen, because I needed to create a space of safety for that to occur, right?
And how different is that? And even hearing your tone of voice as you talk about it's completely different. When you shifted that mindset, everything changed. And I was also in a relationship where there was a lot of shame and guilt trips and all of that around sex and the Catholic upbringing and all of that. And it was only after all of that where I was really able to start to express myself safely and be with someone who was able to encourage me to be myself and not to be someone they wanted, because it was all about them and what they wanted. And it completely changed the way I thought about sex and the way I was able to approach it and to just be myself. And so that sense of being gentle and open and honest with your partner is 100% the most valuable thing that you can do in a long-term relationship, because it opens up the space to express yourself openly and honestly. And I think we just need to bring it back a little bit to actually talking about how you feel with your partner safely, and to be able to say, you know what, I love the effort, I love what's happening here, but is there any chance that we can try this? Or I'm interested in exploring this, or what do you need? I mean, if you guys have been in a long-term relationship, when's the last time you actually asked your partner, what do you want in sex these days? Like, is it the same, or are you bored, or what can we do differently? And make it about your partner. Don't have to always make it about you. Like, if you're bored, your partner probably is as well. So, you can ask your partner, how are you feeling about our sex life? Instead of saying, well, I hate this and I hate that. Ask them as a way of opening up the conversation.
Yeah, and if I could, again, for the men, just deepen the analogy a little bit. I said we're the door bitches to pleasure, but we are the smallest midget bouncers at that door that anyone has ever seen. And you know why? Because we are all frightened that we're not enough, right? Yeah. So we judge, and yet we're actually frightened that we're not enough. And that's very porn informed, if in my opinion. I believe that men are very, very concerned about whether they're enough physically. And
Yeah.
so here we are judging and doing all that stuff, but at the same time, we're like midget bouncers, right? Where we, you know, where we might be standing at the door and we might have the capacity to open up new possibilities, but we're frightened.
Yeah. And
Dudes listening to this, tell me I'm wrong, right? Write to us if you think I'm wrong, but I honestly think that's where most blokes are.
I think if you're not having a good sexual relationship and you're not talking about it, that would make complete sense. And I think women are the same, judging themselves about, why aren't I horny? Why don't I want to have sex with my partner? What's wrong with me? All of that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I want to actually offer our listeners a little exercise that might help in this journey. This is something that I do with my couple of clients. Keep your stuff on. Keep your stuff on. This is for later when you're with your partner.
Oh, right. Sorry, later. Yeah, not us. Okay, good.
This is a two. Okay. So first of all, what happens is that one person is the receiver and one person is the giver. And the receiver is going to ask for what they want, and the giver is going to give it. But you're going to do it in a very slow way where you're just going to start with touch, just a very gentle touch like a massage, or you might get some feathers or ice or warm water or whatever it is that you want, and just very slowly give your partner some physical touch and re-exploring their body as if it's the first time you've ever met them. So really starting off slow and asking them, do you like this part of your body being touched? What about this? Do you want it firmer, softer? Do you want me to scratch you with my fingernails? All this sort of stuff. And just really re-exploring your partner's body without the idea that it's going to lead to sex. And you might even put a little disclaimer at the beginning that this is not about sex, that we will not have sex at the end of this exercise unless both of us get really turned on and we want to do it. So this is really good for couples who have not had sex in a while, or their sex life has dwindled to, something that they're really unhappy with. It's just about exploring. And then the next time you guys get together, swap places and really see what it feels like to be able to say, yes, can you do that some more? Or go back there and what it feels like to actually ask for what you want in doing that. And go slow. Go really slow.
Yeah, it's so funny you should say that, because I actually had this experience with a partner years ago where we, I think it was like a video instruction series that we'd bought or something. And there was a yoni massage piece to it. And yoni is a woman's vajayjays. So and there was instructions about how you had to go, how you did the inner and outer labia, and blah 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 blah, without going into any too much more detail than that. But there was a process that they coached you through, and so you weren't trying to get anything for you. You were trying to explore your partner. To your point. And they had the same coaching on, what do they call it? A lingam massage, don't they, in Tantra? And oh my God, like what we both got out of that experience, what we both understood, what we learned about each other through that experience was insane. So absolutely pick up Leanne on that homework, because that is that's definitely worth exploring. And there are plenty of people out there that will coach you on this stuff and all that sort of thing. The only thing I will say is, if you are going to go down the Tantra route, be super careful about groups that offer tantric escapes or weekends. Personally, I'd suggest that you do more video coaching and stuff that's contained to you in the first instance, because that whole world is unfortunately obstructed by many people who are using it for alternate purposes. So
for their own sexual gratification. and group sex.
Let's call it that.
Let's just call it what it is, Scott.
Let's just call it that.
There are some genuine people out there. You just have to be careful, check reviews and all that.
Definitely.
Because yes,
Definitely.
I have seen that as well, where it's like, what's going on here? I didn't come here to get involved in this shit. I came here to learn.
Yeah, I was really proud of a former partner of mine. We went on a tantric weekend kind of workshop thing. No one was taking their clothes off or anything like that. But there was a particular exercise, and this one girl said to the teacher, she goes, does anyone mind if we get naked? And I was super proud of my partner, and because she just jumped up and went, I do. I mind. That's not comfortable. That's not cool. And she called a boundary, right? Which is really cool. But yeah, unfortunately, there are people in that space who are, not there for all the right reasons. But hey, we're going to have to wrap this thing up. But Jesus, we might even just, instead of men, women, and happiness, maybe we just change this thing to let's talk about sex, because I think we've probably got about 75 other episodes ahead of us here that we can do. But hey, so thank you everyone for listening to this. Hopefully there was something in it for you. Would love to hear from you in the comments about things you want us to talk about, things you want us to explore, experiences you've had, and particularly things like where you felt mistreated or badly treated in this space, because it happens a lot, or where you've shut up and put up, because that happens a lot. So would really encourage you guys to just participate with us and help us like explore some different angles about this, because it's not just a complex area, it's a super, super important area. So
absolutely. And anyway, if you're too shy to do that in the chat, then send us an email, send us a private message.
Yeah, correct. Exactly. Thank you, Leanne.
Excellent. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Thanks for joining us.
Great conversation. Talk to you soon.
I love this woman and our chats, and it's always fun, and I hope you find it so too. Okay.
Excellent.
Cheers.
Bye, guys.
Bye.